Hey guys, Jay here, and in this video today I want to share with you guys a new idea that I just happened to think about and I just have to try it. So this is not a full build or anything. It is just shit. What a good start to the video. Anyway, let me just run away from this guy over here. I don't think I can deal with him with this setup. This is not a setup for bossing, right? So that is the least that I can do. But for clearing, this thing I think looks pretty good. If there is a lot of monster nearby, it seems like it is doing the cleanup everywhere very well. The damage seems to be very good. The AoE seems to be very good, in fact. So yeah, what is this skill that I'm using? You see that I stab the spear into the ground and everything kind of explode around me after a short delay. So this skill is Elemental Surrender or Sunder, not surrender. Elemental Sundering. So how the skill function is when you stab on the ground here, it creates a pulse and it will check on the radius of the pull. If an enemy is ignited, frozen, shocked, then it will create a respective explosion depending on the type of element. So if it is shocked, it will create a lightning explosion. If it is ignited, it will be fire, and vice versa for freeze and cold. So you can see that I am exploding enemies in fire, and this is one single button setup, and it is using a old unique that we are very familiar with from the previous patch. It is this thing. It is the Radiant Grief. So it just ignites enemies around our character automatically, and that means we can just use one single button and we can just always explode enemies with the Elemental Sundering. So the Elemental Sundering, how it works, let me find it here. Okay, Elemental Sundering, plunge the spear to the ground and create a pulse. So there's the pulse. It consumes freeze, shock, and ignite. So if an enemy is freeze, shock, or ignite, it will consume it. And on enemies, on allies, and corpses. So there is a lot of potential things that we can do here. The pulse itself deals no damage, but each element consumed causes an explosion of the corresponding elemental damage type. So it can consume up to 9 elements. So if it is just a pack of monster, anything higher than 9, there will always be 9 explosions in the area, and every one of them will be able to overlap. And look at the base damage here. It is almost 300% at level 12. So I think it will be around 400% at level 20. So roughly, if we have 9 explosion and 400%, I would just assume that number. 400% times 9 is going to be around 3,600% damage worth of explosion around the area. And you can use that with Herald of Ash, Herald of whatever, and you can just potentially clean up the whole thing, right? And the pulse, look at how big it is. So everything in this area is going to explode. It is going to, yeah, just be a bloodbath pretty much, or a fire bath, whatever you want to call it. So it will be like this, right? The more, the better. Again, this is not a setup for this skill, so the damage looks questionable. But even with this kind of setup for like bleed and physical damage, and it is still dealing, it is still just cleaning up everything pretty well. So I think this potentially can be a pretty good clear skill. For single target, I don't know, to be honest. If you look at the spear skill and you look at fire spear skill to be specific, you have a couple of things that you can use. Or if you look at elemental spear skill, you might be using other skills. I don't know, but the, like, in theory, biggest number that a spear skill can have is Spear of Solaris, and it is converting 75% of your damage into fire for that skill. So potentially this can be like a fire build of some sort. I think if you play like as Amazon, there is nothing that can beat like a lightning spear at the moment. People already figured out the like pseudo 1-button setup for a lightning spear. You will always have the frenzy charges. You use a volt support, which is very nice. and it just basically clean up everything super nice. However, this is another setup that can clear pretty damn well, I think. So if you prefer like a closer combat style, you can go ahead and use this one. I think this fit the thematic of this particular class much better, by the way. Imagine if you temper the weapon. And this skill, by the way, there's one thing that I noticed. It actually does not benefit from attack speed that much. So if you attack really fast, while the ignite or any elemental element is being consumed by a pulse, if you just spam it, it will not consume more. You will need to wait for the first consumption to actually finish before you can do anything further. Let's just do this thing here. Right, as you can see, the explosion kind of deals a pretty damn good amount of damage, and it just one-shot the essence mob. So there's some potential here. Maybe I will try to come back to this idea and mess around with it later, but for now I will go back to trying and do the rig stomping for the end game. Right, I am at the early Act 3 now. It is almost at the end game, and I do realize that it does fall off a little bit, but I do think that eventually you should not be scaling like all of your, basically you should not put all your eggs in one basket. You should not do just pure strength stacking. Pure strength is going to give you a lot of life, which is tanky, and tanky is good, but it is not going to result in the most amount of damage. So I would try to see if we can find any like sort of balance. There are actually quite a lot of new uniques that seems to be super damn good. For example, let me just kill this one quickly, and I can okay, good. So I can show you this helmet. Right, 1 second. This particular helmet, I didn't know about this one. Morgan, someone in Discord, told me that this helmet does exist, and this thing is insane. Enemies in your presence count as being on low life. It does reduce your presence area of effect, but for Rig, for Stomp, those deals damage like right next to your character. So we don't really care about the presence being too low, right? Enemies in presence is considered on low life, which means we can potentially use things like this. These 3 nodes give you like almost 200% increased damage already. This is pretty insane, right? And obviously you can use the execute gem as well. I think the execute gem, I'm not sure if I have it here. Maybe maybe I don't have it here, but it will be like more. Let me just get back to town. The execute gives you a large more multiplier to enemies on low life. So if enemies is always on low life, you always have that multiplier. I think that is 50%, I do believe, which is probably one of the biggest thing multiplier wise in a gem that you can have. So yeah, 1 second. All right, we are here, and let me just find the execute. So this is execute. 50% more damage with hits against enemies that are on low life. So this can be insane. So yeah, that's just everything that I want to share in this video today. So let me know what you think about this new setup. Radiant Grief right now is, I think, is around 20x old, so it's not cheap, but it's not expensive either. It's somewhere in the middle of the ground. I don't think it is going to go up in price or anything. So if you want to try out this kind of idea, then you can go ahead and just buy one and test it out. I don't think this is, again, going to be very expensive. The reason is there are like almost 2,000 of these things on the market. There's no way it is going to go up that much in price anyway, right? Granted that I do have a pretty sick spear. I bought the spear as a blue one. It has flat and increased attack speed, and I slam on physical damage with a regal. So I got a super 6 spear over here. It can pretty much carry me for a long time. I think I can use it through the like early end game, maybe yellow maps or something. The problem is just with the spear skill. If I can upgrade this base to the higher level base, this is not the highest tier base. Uh, Around level 60-ish is going to be the highest tier, but yeah, it's good enough for now, I think. Chances to roll this kind of thing is kind of low, so we will see what we can do. By the way, one other thing, if you play around with the, the the warrior and the smith of Kitava, I do think that the body armor you should be using a evasion rating body armor. Until the very end, maybe there is like a, I don't know exactly the name of the new expert armor, but the one with like 2.5% regen, I think that is going to be very, very good. You can potentially, like if you use those kind of notes, you can potentially just try to 2-socket and then corrupt it for 3-socket, because the socket actually doesn't care. It is still a normal body armor, right? Even if it's corrupted. So you can try to fish for a 3-socket, which means you can use 3 runes, which is going to give you a little bit of extra stat, right? And yeah, before that, should use a evasion. I think evasion feels so much better early on compared to armor. I think armor is still, well, armor is shit, right? There's no buff to armor, but in the end, there might be like implicit that you really want on a particular body armor. Maybe you want more spirit, you can use the evasion and ES hybrid chest in the end game. So yeah, in the end, you should look for the implicit, but right now, I think just try to find the highest base of an evasion chest possible and just slap it in here. Should be the best result for you, basically. So thanks for watching again. I hope you enjoy, and if you do, please leave a like, subscribe. Let me know what you think about the Radiant Grief and Elemental Sundering setup. I think it looks pretty cool. And yeah, see you in the next one. Peace.